Hey folks, my name is Jen, and today we are going to chit-chat about everything that I read over the course of September. Over September, I read 11 books. What we'll talk about first and get through rather quickly are the graphic novels and the manga that I read in the middle of the month or something. You guys probably already saw my weekend vlog. So because I had a whole weekend vlog about it recently, I don't think I'm going to spend that much time talking about the graphic novels. Over the course of that weekend vlog, I read spooky graphic novels or fall related, Halloween related graphic novels. First of them was my standard start of fall read now, which is Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. You guys don't need to hear me talk about this book. You've heard about this book the past couple of years. You've heard about it in my weekend vlog. You know I love this. It's the epitome of fall. It has two friends, Deja and Josiah, and they work at this really crazy cool pumpkin patch every fall, and this is their last fall, their last Halloween together, because this is going to be their senior year of high school coming up, or they're in their senior year of high school rather. So next Halloween they're going to be away at college, so things are not going to be the same, and they are only fall buddies. They don't really hang out otherwise. So this is about their friendship, it's about fall, it's about Halloween, it's just really cute and cool. The art is wicked cute and stuff, and is very colorful and just looks like it's completely full of all of the great all colors, and overall it's just really adorable, and I wish that this pumpkin patch existed in real life because it has a lot of cool stuff. So there's also a lot of really cool foods that are discussed in here. It's pretty great. Oh, I forgot. I have a leaf I pressed in here apparently. Anyway, yeah, it's an adorable graphic novel. It is one of my absolute favorites. Nothing feels quite like fall until I've read Pumpkinheads. Yeah, cute. This was 5 stars. It's always 5 stars. And then I also read Ghosts by Raina Telgemeier. This one is also super cute. It also takes place around Halloween, or Dia de los Muertos. They're both on the same date in here, and I'm pretty certain they are already on the same day, or if not on the exact same day, I think maybe it's right literally next to each other. Yeah, because it's All Souls Day, because November 1st is All Saints Day, so yeah, okay, you get me. Anyway, this is a little bit more serious of a book. This is about two sisters. This is about Kat and Maya. They have just relocated with their parents to this town in California. It is called Bahia de la Luna, and they have moved there for the clearer air and better weather, climate overall for Maya, because Maya has cystic fibrosis. And yeah, so they've uprooted their lives to move to this specific town. And Kat's dealing with a lot. She's dealing with leaving all of her friends behind, starting over, coming to a town that is really obsessed with ghosts and the dead, and she has a lot of fear surrounding that, a lot of anxiety surrounding that. I think for the most part because she's so afraid of losing her little sister. So yeah, there's a little more of a serious tone to this graphic novel overall, but it is still wicked cute. You get to know the different parts of the town, and they are like really into Halloween and everything here. They have a big like fall festival, and they take this time of year very seriously because this is a very special town. It is a town in which the dead one day a year can come visit the living. So it is just also has very big fall feeling. It's really beautiful, it's cute. It's also kind of sad, but yeah, I like it, and I think my favorite part about it is the sisterly bond between the two. I just find that to be like really cute. Even when I wanted to like shake Cat sometimes and be like, you need to stop being such a scaredy cat. As someone who also is afraid most of the time, and also wants to avoid her fears and problems, I guess maybe she annoys me because she reminds me a little too much of myself. I found another leaf that I pressed apparently. Ghost was a 4-star read. I read a new to me graphic novel, which was Sheets by Grenna Thumler. This is a graphic novel about a girl, my god, I forgot her name already, Marjorie. So Marjorie is like 13 years old. She's been having a really rough time. Her mom died the previous spring, so she's dealing with not only the loss of her mother, she's dealing with some fears surrounding that particular accident, and also the fact that she is basically the only one keeping their family running. The laundromat her mom started and loved so much is having issues, and her dad has just basically checked out mentally, emotionally. He does not give a rat's ass about running the laundromat or doing anything. So she is basically taking care of herself, her younger brother, and trying to keep the laundromat running. There's a lot of regulars, some of whom are Karens. One in particular I can absolutely not stand. This is first of all dealing with her, and the second half of this has to do with a little ghost named Wendell, who one day ends up leaving Ghost Town, Ghostville, wherever he is. He's in the Dead Youth Support Group, and one day he decides he's had enough and he leaves Ghostville, Ghost Town. I can't remember the name of where it is, but the other side basically, and finds his way back to the world of living, and hides out in Marjorie's family's little laundromat because the sheets remind him of his own sheet that his spirit wears. And yeah, Marjorie and Wendell get to kind of know each other over the course of this novel. I had some mixed feelings about this book overall. First of all, how it sounded it was going to be was slightly false. Or maybe it was how this book was presented to me, both by the synopsis on the inside and also probably from hearing other people talk about it, is I thought this was going to be all about the friendship between a lost little girl and a lost little ghost boy, and that's kind of not how it was. Mostly it was Wendell attempting to be friends and Marjorie being like, what the fuck is happening the entire time. Which is fine, that's perfectly fine, but I don't know, maybe it's my fault for assuming things a little bit just based on what people had said about this, and I guess I was coming into this expecting something a little bit different and then being slightly disappointed that it wasn't what I was expecting, so it's probably more a me thing than it is anyone else. Other than that, like, I still thought this was pretty cute. I still enjoyed it overall. This one, I have to say, even more so than the little girl CF confronting the fact that she's probably gonna die. Like, even this was somehow a little bit more bleak of a feeling than that was, which is crazy. It was still pretty good. Like I said, it was still cute. There were a couple of funny moments in here. My things I didn't really like were, I didn't really like the artwork that much. I talked about it in my weekend vlog, so I won't go on crazy about it right now, but I don't know, I just didn't really vibe with it that much. I guess mostly I liked the ghost look more than the people, I guess. And the only other issue I had really was the absolute caricature that there was of a male Karen. What are we calling male Karens? We're calling them something. Is it Kevins? Are they Kevin? No, they're not Kevins. What are they? I don't know. Whatever. This particular regular customer of theirs who is absolutely fucking delulu and just, he's a lot. He was a bit over the top. He was almost more like a caricature of what an evil person would be than an actual, like, not great person, and that just kind of, I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way. I think in some settings an over-the-top evil person is like, fits, or it makes sense, but in this novel, it felt slightly out of place, I guess. But yeah, this is the first of a trilogy, and I have taken a peek at what the other two books are about, and they deal with like the same characters, it looks like, so it's just a continuation. Time has passed, basically. So I will probably check those out at some point. But yeah, mixed feelings overall. I was thinking maybe I'm a little bit too, like, rough on it due to my own, like, I don't know, assumptions or feelings about it at this point, but I just couldn't muster up enthusiasm for it beyond a 3. So yeah, I just kind of rated it a 3. And then I read Seance Tea Party by Raymond Yee, which is, as you will have known probably if you saw my video last year, my favorite graphic novel of all time. This is about a girl named Laura who is really afraid of growing up. She's like 12 or 13? 12 or 13, I think 12. Time passes as this novel goes along, so I think she's 12 at the start of the book. I was in like middle school, I think, and she's afraid of growing up. She sees all of her friends around her. They used to play and hang out and use their imagination and stuff, but they're slowly kind of breaking off, and they're still friends with her, but they don't really want to run and play much anymore. They want to, like, one get super into, like, really involved in, like, soccer and stuff. Another one is, like, gets this whole new group of, like, gamer friends. Another is, like, all about, like, makeup and whatever now. And Laura's still kind of doing her own little thing, running around with her imaginary friends and everything. She's feeling a little bit lonely and a little bit scared because, like I said, she doesn't really want to grow up. So one day she decides to have a seance tea party for fun and summons the ghost that lives in her house and makes friends with her. The ghost's name is Alexa. And yeah, the two have a very beautiful friendship. I love this book. I have already talked ad nauseum about this book, but just to remind you, the colors are beautiful, the art is adorable, everything is incredibly whimsical. For example, here is her setting up her seance tea party with her stuffed animals and imaginary friends, her little pixies, her homemade ghost phone, Ouija board, and she has cookies and tea because any tea party should have cookies and tea. And she's just, the whole way through, even as Laura grows, she is still unabashedly herself the whole way through. And that's something that I really love, because she's like quirky and into spooky stuff, and I just think she is absolutely great. And as someone who was pretty afraid of growing up, I don't know, there's something about this that makes me connect with it in a very deep way, and this book is just absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, like the colors are gorgeous, the art is gorgeous. I love the little imaginative characters, are so freaking cute and whimsical. And this book is like, it deals with some heavy stuff, but in such a sweet way that even though maybe I wouldn't recommend it for like little kids, I would say like middle school, definitely. You might even be able to get away with it pre-middle school a little bit. And yeah, I think it's perfect read for any age, because I think that most people can probably relate to some aspect of this book. And it's the type of thing that will give you the warmest of fuzzies and then smash your heart into absolute smithereens. And the thing is, you won't even fucking mind that it did that, because it's so goddamn beautiful. I love this book now and forever. It is 5 stars, always. And then that weekend I also read for the first time the manga classics of Anne of Green Gables by Alan Montgomery. I have read the actual book, as you've probably seen few times. I think at least 5 or 6 times I've read that book by now. This manga classic, so cute. This is by Kuma Chan and Crystal S. Chan. So cute. Pretty faithful adaptation. Of course, some things aren't really gone into as much, or some things are like barely a little blip, or aren't really a huge aspect. Like there's one kind of major thing that happens at one point, and it's mostly kind of skipped over partially, or time passes really quickly, which, you know, I don't think it's like, it was a part of the novel and a pretty significant part of the novel, but I think you can forgive it for not really spending a lot of time on it, because it overall isn't as impactful as other parts of the novel that remained within here. Still so beautifully told, made me cry probably as much, well, maybe not quite as much as the actual novel makes me cry, but still. It is super cute. Anne is a delight. I actually might find her even more palatable as a manga character than anything else. This is, I think, one of the cutest pictures of her, and I absolutely love Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert. I think the only downside to this adaptation is that we don't really get as many inner thoughts of Marilla and Matthew, especially not the Marilla. We don't see as much of the overall character growth that she gets, and the softening of her character over the course of the book, which is something that I absolutely love. So I think that's like the one downside, is we don't get those internal thoughts as much, but that's perfectly okay. Still, it's a pretty good adaptation, and I think it's the type of adaptation that, because it's so enjoyable and it's so cute, it would probably make people interested in actually reading the novel. But yeah, I really enjoyed reading this. I'm really enjoying these manga classic series in general, and yeah, this was also like 5 stars. I also read one mystery in September, or rather, I've been kind of reading it for the past couple of months, but I finished it in September, and it's Thank You Jeeves by P.G. Wodehouse. I think I'm calling it mystery because that's what I've heard P.G. Wodehouse classified under before, kind of, but I'm rethinking my P.G. Wodehouse classification, agreeing that it's a mystery, because I don't know what was quite mysterious about it. It's just goofy. Maybe classic. Maybe classic is where it should be instead. Sorry, I have to think about how to reorganize all my shit. It was delightful. I don't really have that much to say about it, except I really enjoyed the audiobook. Oh my god, it's really hard to even describe what this book is about. It's basically Bertie Wooster getting up to hijinks again. I guess how to describe it is how it starts with Bertie and his learning how to play the banjo, or the banjolele as he refers to it, which I didn't think that's what it was called, but I don't know. I mean, who the hell plays a banjo anymore except for Mumfords and Sons? But he is striving to learn this, and his long time loyal and long-suffering butler Jeeves is like, yo, I'm gonna quit if you don't quit playing that stupid banjo. And Birdie refuses to quit, and Jeeves is like, alright, well, I'm giving my notice. I'm not gonna keep listening to you with that damn banjo. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. Jeeves would not say that. And other characters are included. Birdie goes down to the country and gets drawn into absolute crazy shenanigans with his friend, an ex of his. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff to go on. It's a lot to explain, so I'm just gonna leave it. Just know that P.G. Woodhouse's works are absolutely insane, laugh out loud, funny. Bertie Wooster is absolutely, utterly ridiculous. Like, think about, like, if you don't know Jeeves and Wooster, like you never watched the Jeeves and Wooster show with Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie, picture, what's his face? Lord Peter Wimsey from the Dorothy L. Sayers novels. Picture Wimsey and his butler. Only remove the detective smarts and the PTSD and remove death, and you have a ridiculous, lazy, layabout aristocrat who is bonkers as hell and is constantly getting a lot of really good assistance from his long-suffering butler. P.G. Woodhouse to Lord Peter Wimsey is Scary Movie to Scream. If that makes any sense, I feel like that's an appropriate comparison. Yeah. Laugh out loud funny, absolutely ridiculous. I really enjoyed the audiobook too. I think it was really well done. And yeah, it just basically reminded me that I really need to pursue more of Woodhouse novels because they are a riot and absolutely delightful. And if you really enjoy that very particular British sense of humor, especially like very particular early 20th century British humor, like that's peak right there. Loved it, and I gave it like 5 stars. Yeah, I'm gonna have to seek out more of his books. And I also read one nonfiction book, and that was The Feather Thief, and this is by Kirk Wallace Johnson, and it is Beauty, Obsession, and the Natural History Heist of the Century, and this is the author getting into a very complicated case. It's basically, the author was like this very big, like, working, he did a lot of work in Iraq, I believe. He was the founder of the List Project to resettle Iraqi allies. He is very involved in all of that, basically. And he kind of took some downtime to recharge from the stress of everything that he'd been doing, and it sounds like maybe dealing with his own little bits of PTSD or like stress and everything by kind of learning more about this case, and then got absolutely obsessed with it. The case basically is a heist from a natural history museum in England. It is the British Museum of Natural History, the Tring Museum. It has a lot of feather and bird specimens from varying scientists. There was some from Darwin and a lot from, I forgot the name of these scientists already. They're very interesting, but yeah, I forgot their names already. My god, how did I forget their names already? Alfred Russel Wallace, yes. Basically, they were naturalists exploring. They brought back a whole bunch of specimens. There's a whole section that talks about the natural exploration and bringing back the specimens and everything that Wallace and others went through over the course of that whole time period to bring them back to be on display or to collect them, and that's a whole thing that's within here too. So it's not just feathers, it's also mostly bird skins, which is what they call the taxidermied. Yeah, I guess they're mostly taxidermied. Although it's a different type of taxidermy than you would have if you were like a hunter and you put your displays on or whatever. There's a different particular scientific way of doing it that's different. It goes into in here. I'm not good with science, so I don't really remember all of those details, but they're basically kept in these drawers within the museum because the museum allows like ecologists and other like scientists to from time to time double check like DNA and look at different things having to do with these bird specimens. They're actually really important overall because these specimens are like basically a time capsule, our world's natural history. So these birds are prior to major industrial like chemicals, the nuclear bombs, prior to major pollution, like, so there's like very specific things we can learn about our world from the past through like these specimens being studied. And also there's a lot of work that was being done, I don't know if it's still being done now, but was being done prior to this heist, to potentially see how it would be to make like Jurassic Park and clone these puppies, maybe bring them back from extinction, or save species that are having trouble or struggling. So that's stuff that was being worked on. And then some particular little entitled rich pissant decided that his hobby was worth more than saving natural species of the earth. So, you know, typical fuckhead behavior. Sorry, I'm trying not to get like overheated about this because there were parts of this book that really pissed me off. Ooh, okay. So this shithead called Edwin Wrist, basically frickin' musical prodigy genius, goes to the Royal Academy of Music. He is a flautist, and he also has another hobby besides music, which is Victorian fly tying. You heard it here first. This is a thing. I knew fly tying was a thing back in the day, because people would fish, or it was some weird little hobby the rich eccentric guys had. I didn't know that was still a thing, to the point where people are having conventions. I say this as a total anime nerd who has gone to conventions, so I can't speak about anything. Everyone's a fucking nerd. So he gets involved with this world when he's a kid and becomes absolutely obsessed with it. But the thing is that you can't have a hobby like the old rich guys used to have back in the day, because certain birds are exotic and extremely protected under laws that went into place because of the sheer craziness of the Victorian age between the guys with their Victorian fly tying and flies that weren't freaking even used most of the time, and the ladies who were wearing hats sometimes with an entire fucking stuffed bird on it. Basically, they caused certain bird species to go completely extinct, or mostly extinct, very endangered at the very least. And laws went into place. This is a whole section of the book as well. So it's really hard to get certain things, but you can get them off of the dark web or other particularly sneaky ways of getting around laws, especially something that's talked about a lot in here. If you have the money, you can do whatever the fuck you want and get whatever feathers or bird skins that you want ever. And Edwin finds out about this museum and pulls off the most daring yet stupidest heist ever by busting into the Tring Museum and making off with a whole bunch of these bird skins. And unfortunately, we're not going to get into that. We're not going to go into that. He was not caught for a while, and the author came into this after he had been caught and things had happened. But the author's point of this book was not to continue catching this guy. He had already been caught and had gone through a trial, but he was on the search for the other missing, like, bird specimens to try to give them back to the Tring Museum. This book, if you are interested in heists, like I am, if you're interested in true crime, if you're interested in our natural history, the preservation of nature, if you're interested in any of that, this is probably a super cool book. I enjoy this read. It is very readable, even the extremely boring parts having to do with science stuff. Again, I am not, there are very few pockets of science that I actually find interesting, and unfortunately this kind of like specimen gathering is not really one of them. But I will say he did make even those parts that I would normally find incredibly tedious, he made them very interesting and very readable. That's how this novel felt the whole way through, very readable. There's also like a whole section of like photographs in here, and it's really cool. I will say though, if you are looking for a finished ending, that is not what you are going to find, because this case is very frustrating. So if you are someone who gets really frustrated by true crime cases that have unsatisfying endings, just be warned that this is one of those where it's gonna have a fairly unsatisfying ending for you. Leaves you with a lot of questions at the end, but overall extremely fascinating, very weird case overall, and I am gonna stop talking about it right now because the amount of vitriol that I have within me for this little shit stain Edwin Rist and the entire fly tying community, I cannot even begin. I'm just gonna stop because I'm gonna get real nasty, and I would rather just not bring that here. So just know that they suck. They suck. And Mr. Rist, I sincerely hope that the ghosts of Darwin and Wallace haunt you to the end of your days. Thank you. I gave that 4 stars. The last few books that I can talk about are all horror books. 2 of these are weekly reader books. They're like middle grade. Duh, what am I thinking? So one of these was a book that was one of my favorites when I was a little kid. I don't know where my original copy is anymore, so I ended up getting hold of this copy several months ago. It's The Ghost of Windy Hill. It is by Clyde Robert Bulla, illustrated by Don Bolognese. This is a simple little book about a family in 18 something or other. I don't know, 18 something. And this family ends up being asked to move into this old farmhouse that is reportedly potentially haunted. They are asked this by this gentleman because he desperately loves Windy Hill, and he wants to live there, but his wife is absolutely terrified to the point of like making herself sick because she believes the place to be haunted. and he wants his family to live there, as they have lived in a reportedly haunted house before, and debunked it. He wants them to live there and see what they think and debunk this one so he can give his wife peace of mind. So the family heads up there and get to know the weird old house, the beautiful land around it, and the extremely quirky characters that live both on the property and nearby it. I don't really know what to say about it other than it's simple, it's short, it's cute. I would not call it particularly scary at all, although when I did read it as a kid, I do remember being mildly creeped out by it, but that might have been mostly due to the artwork than anything else. So, would I recommend this? If you just want a simple read, yeah, for kids, hell yeah. I gave that 4 stars because it's an old childhood favorite, and then I also read another similar one, The Haunted Cove, by Elizabeth Baldwin Hazelton, and this is about a brother and sister who they come up for the summer to this cove. They're going to stay in a cabin with their mom. Their dad's going to be down on the weekends, the week or something or other. So they're staying at this little house, cabin thing, and they meet this very strange girl around their age who insists that there is an evil witch who has cursed the cove, and her reincarnation, who's also a witch, lives, or is it a reincarnation or her descendant? I don't know. Verdict's out. A family member has inherited this creepy old manse by the cove, and she has cursed the area and does evil magic every evening. And strange occurrences happen. It is interesting. I will say, did not find this creepy either. Also full of extremely quirky characters. I really didn't know what to think about the little girl to become friends with either. She's interesting. I will say, I think the thing about this book, like I did give it 4 stars anyway, because I was trying not to be too harsh of it, because it's a product of its time, and it also, I think, suffers from a little bit of Hardy Boys syndrome, where the boy in this just makes a guess at something and is ultimately correctamundo about it. 100%, even though it feels like it's entirely out of left field. Things moved along in quite obvious ways, but then again, this is a middle grade book. It is for kids. I don't think things would necessarily be that difficult anyway in these kind of things. So yeah, it was pretty good though, very atmospheric, and I think if I had read this as a kid, I probably would have enjoyed it more. So I would say probably good for kids who want a eerie book as well. Then I read, of course, The Shining by Stephen King, one of my favorite books. I read it every year, never fails. I read it again. Let's see, if you don't know what The Shining is about, it is about the Torrance family, Jack, Wendy, and their 5-year-old son Danny, who end up moving into the Overlook Hotel to be winter caretakers of the place, because where it sits in Colorado basically gets closed off from the rest of the world due to the snow amounts. So they're there to take care of the place, make sure that nothing goes awry, but unfortunately the family is kind of bringing their own inner demons up to a hotel that is very much full of its own shit, and what lives within the Overlook is really interested in Danny, who happens to be particularly psychically gifted. I love this book. I don't really know what I can say about it other than I adore it. Every time I read it, I feel like I learn something a little bit new, whether about the characters or about Stephen King's writing overall, like little tricks that he did, little foreshadowing pieces, different things. I should have wrote this down. I know there were a couple of things that I hadn't made note of before, and I ended up looking them up and they were references to other things. I should have written that down. It's either a play or a book that was referenced in here, and it has to do with like people recovering from deep tragedy. So it was like, I don't know, just interesting parallel kind of stuff. Yeah, I love this book. Still, the only part that legitimately scares me is the part in room 217, or if you like the movie, room 237. That is the only section of the book that scares the absolute shit out of me, and is the only part of the book that must be read in daylight. The rest of it I'm so used to, and I'm fairly desensitized, I guess, to it overall. I fluctuate, well, I never fluctuate on how I feel about Wendy, Danny, and the Overlook cook, Dick Halloran. I love them always. I consistently fluctuate on how I feel about Jack. I have gone back and forth from feeling for him at varying points. This time around, I think I felt for him a little bit less than I had previously. Interesting novel, really fast-paced, really easy to read, keep you on the edge of your seat. There's funny parts, which also kind of make things more even heartbreaking further as they go along. Scary parts, brilliant. Yeah. I love this book, and it never fails to make me cry at some point, darn it. Anyway, yeah, one of my absolute favorites, and I gave this 5 stars. And the last book that I read was The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, and this was a reread. This time around I actually annotated. I think that kind of looks cool, the orange with the black and everything. This was not like a full out annotation like The Shining was. This was, I didn't even like highlight or anything. I just literally put tabs next to sentences that I particularly enjoyed. Or thought was beautiful, any funny passages, any passages that I was like, God damn, I wish I could write like that, or anything that I found to be particularly scary or profound, or like showing the main character losing her ever-loving mind. This, if you don't know what The Haunting of Hill House is about, this is following very closely Eleanor Vance as she heads up to Hill House, this reportedly very haunted building, as part of a summer study, along with the very beautiful and slightly eccentric Theodora, and also Dr. Montague, who has set up this study because he wants to actually investigate this house that is reportedly haunted. And they are also joined by Luke, who is basically one day going to inherit the house. They're all up there to study this place and see if it is indeed haunted, and they get a very interesting time. This book is reportedly noted as one of the best horror books of all time. I will say that this is my 3rd read, I believe, of the book, either my 3rd or my 4th. And there are legitimately only 2 parts of this book which actually scare me. Everything else is basically unsettling, and it is one of those books that has a very underlying eeriness all the way through, like you feel like you can't quite sit back in your seat. You're on like the edge of your seat, and it's not just because things are tense and exciting. It is because you're tensed up because you don't know what is going to happen, and it just leaves you with this not quite skin crawling, but just like a little goose flesh feeling throughout. It's very steadily eerie throughout, and even the cheerful or funny bits, there feels like there's an underlying unsettled kind of like something not quite right underneath it all. Yeah, like I said, there's two parts that legitimately scare the shit out of me, and they're not even like in your face horror. Like, it is not like a King kind of in your face or descriptive wise. It is indeed probably two minor things, or two things that are alluded to, but they are kind of horrifying, and they're more horrifying when you think about them more. But this is such an eerie read, a definite eerie read, and like I said, I wish I could write like Shirley Jackson, because she writes so beautifully. I will share the first paragraph, which is, I think, one of the best openings of a book ever. And it's probably, you probably know this already if you know anything about this book, because I think it's the most well-known part of the book. No live organism can continue for long to exist sanely under conditions of absolute reality. Even larks and katydids are supposed by some to dream. Hill House, not sane, stood by itself against its hills, holding darkness within. It had stood so for 80 years, and might stand for 80 more. Within, walls continued upright, bricks met neatly, floors were firm, and doors were sensibly shut. Silence lay steadily against the wood and stone of Hill House, and whatever walked there, walked alone. Great read. Bit of a kind of slow burn, so if it's not really you, I get it. But still, eerie, and beautiful descriptions. Obsessed with. Need to read more Shirley Jackson. This book, what did I give it? 4 stars. Guys, that was basically everything that I read and did not in September. Yeah, 11 books. Crazy. I don't know when wow, words. I don't know what October is gonna look like, because I don't know. To be frank, we got a lot of stuff going on right now, and I don't know if that means I'm going to read less or read more out of sheer need of distraction. I have no idea. So we'll see what October holds. It's currently the 3rd, so I have not finished a book yet, but I am in the middle of like 4. So yeah, that's how that goes. That is it, guys. Let me know if you have read any of the books that I have mentioned, or if you are interested in any that I have mentioned. Yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for always watching. If you are new here and would like to subscribe, please consider doing so, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.